There it is, and I millennial pause to begin the recording. To begin the recording, millennial pause, very good pause. Yes, folks, unfortunately, this is a pre-record. So of course, as usual for the pre-records, I have no way to check the audio. The overhead fan not running today, so hopefully we won't have any of the issues that we had the last time that I pre-recorded. As you can see, I've gone with the New York Mets Hawaiian shirt today, and it is it's a Nathan's Hot Dog New York Mets Hawaiian shirt with driblets of mustard all over the dogs, apropos for what we'll be discussing later today. But for it's 10 a.m. I have to. So the reason we're pre-recorded today is because I have to cover some emergency shifts at the gym, and it came up last minute, so I wasn't able to announce the pre-record last week. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. But hey, Mikey goes in, makes a little extra cash to fund his summertime good times, and you get a pre-recorded episode. The fuck was I? Oh, yeah. I remind you at this point to check out these social media pages. That is what I do. Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram at Gary_Moiler, Moyler. YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams, or search Sacktap Live. Although I am told that sometimes searching Sacktap Live won't bring it up. Interesting. Perhaps the our tech overlords are trying to silence me. What else? Do I have any others? No, those are them. You can, if you would love to do me a huge favor, just screenshot this and share it to your stories. Same thing with the audio podcast. Share it. Let people know. Shout it from the rooftops. The audio podcast, The Savage Sacktap, available wherever you download podcasts. And yeah, the summer is fading. Last couple weekends coming up. I always get very it's always an interesting time of the year, because it's evocative of a few different feelings. One, I get very excited because the grass starts to smell like football practice, and that means that football is coming. And there was always a kind of a feeling with the start of football preseason that, like, you were if you played football, you were like, it was like turning yourself into prison. You were going to be in jail for a couple of weeks, just going. And in retrospect, obviously, those, football training camps, it's like the most fun you never want to have again. It's your body just feels like shit for 2.5, 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you have to go back to school. So that was always sort of like a bittersweet thing, because it was like, all right, football season is here, but the sense of freedom that you've enjoyed since the end of June, the past 6 or 7 weeks or so, is going to completely evaporate overnight. I remember you would do in high school, you would go, and we would the last few days before preseason started would be all of our testing days. So we would test like our 40, 300-yard shuttle, vertical, and we'd get in the weight room for squat, clean, push press, all that shit. And it was like, this is it. Like, there was always something that night after you did your final test out in the weight room, and you were like, oh no, fucking camp fucking starts tomorrow. Was always a tough one. And then in college, you spend the summer at home getting fucking hammered with your friends and getting into all sorts of youthful summertime shenanigans. And then you have to go college sports. If you play a fall sport in college, you report like it's like the first week of August. Like, you're there for a month before anybody else shows up. But that also means that, one, there are a lot of female athletes walking around. It's just, there are no fat chicks on campus. It's great. It's just fucking fit girls in fucking spandex walking around you're on fucking bun patrol all day. Whenever you're not at practice or in a team meeting, you're just chilling on campus, there are just cheeks walking around everywhere. It's good stuff. But our team, there was an express rule against hanging out with female athletes during preseason. Like it was the old fucking semen retention days. Back when they thought like a fighter shouldn't ejaculate when he was in preparation for a big boxing match. So if you had those old school football coaches, you were denied water and pussy. But there was this other feeling that I only developed as an adult, which I don't get anymore, but I get this anticipation of it where the end of summer, I was doing the Jersey Shore rental houses, and it's such a long summer of just consistent, you're getting blackout drunk Thursday through Sunday every weekend for like 13, 14 weekends in a row. You probably got a couple weddings mixed in there too to really push it over the fucking top. You're doing a lot of drugs, getting an excessive amount of sun. Your eating becomes kind of shitty. You still work out because you want to look like fucking pumped for the beach and shit, but your eating is never quite what it is during the rest of the normal portion of the year. And it's weird. Like I would start to get this anxiety in August because you're like, oh shit, our last couple weekends of this incredible. It's again, if you don't understand, the Jersey Shore is a grown-up fucking paradise. You know, if you are unattached in your 20s through your 30s, you can just even up into your 40s to be told like it just you can go. The Jersey Shore for single people is just other single people looking to hang out on the beach and do some fucking. Like that people at there is just this fucking air. There's this air of just dripping fucking sexuality everywhere you go because everyone's tan, everybody works out, and the single people again are just fucking drunk and trying to throw down. So you're like, oh fuck, we only have a couple more weekends of this glory left, but also you've been treating your body so poorly that it is creating a sort of natural anxiety and depression in you just on a chemical level. So your hormones are all fucking out of whack. So yeah, it's this time of year. I still get a little bit of a rumble of it. I think just as sort of, something that sits with me, like the way a fucking, the way an Indian chief can sense when the fucking, the rain is coming or the seasons are changing or the herd will be returning or whatever the fuck those guys could sense from, a feeling in their knee or their chest or whatever the fuck. I get that around the beginning and end of the summer. Very sad. Ephemeral. Bittersweet. But it's fun. I think the year, once you hit like Easter, the year becomes pretty fun. Weather gets nice, all sorts of good times going on outside, outdoor parties, beach, etc. Women wearing less clothing. And then as that comes to an end, we go football, and then just it's basically November, December, nobody's getting a fucking thing done. It's just good times. Like we're coming down to the last 10 weeks or so of actual productivity for the year, which is kind of nice. I like that. I love fucking, it's really like Halloween, it starts to fucking roll where it's like, all right, we're going to get put on costumes and get fucked up. Ladies dress like sluts. Fucking, and then you wake up on November 1st and it's like, all right, we are just a go for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like fucking hit the brakes on everything and just chill out, get fat and happy. So here we go. Anyway, speaking of fat asses, Lauren Boebert. I don't know what the end game here is. Just want to pull Lauren. Let's get this. Let's all have a chew. Let's all enjoy this. So someone shared this delightful picture of Lauren Boebert on social media, and I guess what's going on is someone. It's supposed to be kind of this Anna Paulina Luna is a representative, Republican representative, and her MAGA swimsuit picture went viral this week. And I don't know what the end game is. Like, people were trying to do it to shame her and like to say like, oh, she's not, if she's doing this, how is this conservative? Like, I think it's Democrats trying to fucking um you know point them out as hypocrites or something like that. But I mean, it's got to be backfiring, right? I mean, we live in a country now where the term ass eaten season is a regular part of the lexicon. Like, you're not turning, who do you think you're turning off with hot chicks? Like, Lauren Boebert is looking good. Like, go I would go face deep in that ass. And that other chick, the MAGA one, she looks good too. Let me see if I can find a picture of her. Like, I don't know if the strategy to expose female Republicans as hot pieces of ass, I don't know if that's going to work out the way that people think it will. There's not a good, they didn't get a good ass shot in here. I guess it's from the because they use screenshots from the video. Oh well, we'll continue to enjoy Lauren Boebert instead. The other chick's pretty good. But yeah, if the narrative is that the left thinks that, a man is a woman and a woman is a man, and a fucking vagina having persons and stuff like that, then it doesn't help your cause to point out hot pieces of ass on the other side. It doesn't. I don't know what. Again, I don't know what the end game was here in doing this. Like, was it to rile Christian conservatives or whatever? Like, because the new thing now, if you're like among like younger conservatives especially, is like the whole trad wife thing. Like, they want like a hot chick who stays at home and folds the sheets and stocks the pantry, and then gives you a blowjob when you come back from a long day at your blue collar job. That's sort of the trad wife meme, the doppelganger, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So the idea that the right would be embarrassed by having attractive women on, it's a very weird, like, there is a certain level of delusion that you have to live in when you think anyone would ever be bothered by the sight of an attractive woman. Like, I don't know what year they think this is. It's not the 1950s. Or that's not even the 50s, like the 20s. Like, when they're measuring the lengths of a fucking woman's bathing suit. That's not, no one's doing that anymore. Like, this is, even the most conservative people acknowledge when a woman's looking. Have you seen these Mormons? They're all wife swapping and shit. It's all these fucking hot blonde chicks. They're just out there drinking milk and getting all of their holes filled. Like, it's these people, these conservatives these days like to fuck. Like, that's not. It's the, the left. They should be ashamed. Like, they're the ones where you pull it up and it's some fucking. It's like a fat guy who calls himself a woman and is now is like a fucking a 4-star general or some shit. Been because of because that's the way we do things now. That's kind of the thing that one might be a little weirded out by. Lauren Boebert looking good with this nice little tribal fucking rib cage belly tattoo. Let me tell you something. Get yourself a chick with a rib cage tattoo. No one has ever had a bad time with a chick who's got over the long haul, you may find yourself having some unpleasant moments, but you will also have a lot of great times if you can find yourself a chick with a tattoo crawling up her rib cage. That's usually a sign that portends fun to be had. So if this is the political left in this country, the drag queen story hour left in this country, trying to shame the right because they're they're putting their pieces of ass out there, flashing a little flesh, then this is a bigger political blunder than Michael Dukakis riding around in the fucking tank. Keep it up, ladies. We like what we're seeing. Schools, this article is from December, but this has been popping up because the school year's coming back. More and more people are talking about this thing. Schools are trying to crack down on cell phone use, and people are going nuts about it. It's weird. There are a lot of parents out there going you can't do this. Like, we need constant contact with our kids, and it's like it's 2024. This is only when did phone use become so widespread that kids would have phones in school? 2011 feels like that would have been early, because smartphone technology was kind of in its infancy. So maybe everyone carried like a little flip or something like that but this is less than a decade and a half now that kids have had their phones in school, and all of a sudden parents are acting like the idea of not a kid not having their phone in school it's something that could not even be fathomed. Like, human existence. Like, how did human beings exist before everyone had a phone? Like, it was fine. It was fine. You could argue, in fact, that the world is more dangerous and kids are more at risk of being exploited now that they have phones and they can go on the internet. I mean, I watched it. Chris Hansen, he's got these guys rolling up to sting houses in Michigan. It's bad. And the phone makes that easier. So there are a lot of guys like that out there. So I guess the idea is if there was an emergency, you used to be able to reach your kid if there was an emergency. And if there's a school shooting going on, it's not like you want some kid in there talking on the fucking phone, giving a play-by-play to his mom. Everyone's trying to fucking hide in a closet, and this fucking kid's phone's going off. It's some other antsy idiot can't stay off fucking TikTok. They're watching TikTok dance videos while the gunman, the kid that they rejected for they didn't ask for the Sadie Hawkins dance, is out stalking the hallways, fucking everybody else is being quiet, but you're watching the latest Kamala TikTok dance. It goes off, and you and your classmates get fucking slaughtered by some incel with an AR-15 because of your fucking phone. The teachers have phones. If there's a school shooting, the teacher is going to call 911. I don't know what the strong argument in favor of having to have kids with their phones in school is, because it's so recent that kids didn't have phones in school and everything was fine. There was no problem. There is no where the parents who are complaining that their kids won't have phones in school grew up at a time when there were no phones in school and everything was fine. Better, you might say. You might say that, kids were less distracted. You had to learn to deal with boredom. You would just draw things. Your mind would wander. You could be kind of, think of things, and you'd have to engage with people, and you'd have to be present to a degree. Even if you were daydreaming, you had to be very present with your thoughts, right? Like, unless you were like, one of the kids who was like sniffing glue or stepping outside to smoke weed or sneaking vodka into school, you had to have a level of sort of presentness. And I'm not talking about being academically present, but just generally just present and in touch with the world around you. Like, you just kind of notice things, you were there. Everything has become very weird. Teenagers, they're very weird. Young, like 20 people in their 20s are very weird, like their early 20s. It's like there's a very, very strange sort of, they almost exist a little, like they all kind of seem like they're in a little bit of a fog. And young people, I think, are generally like that, like, in your teens through your 20s, because I think all the hormones are firing so fucking much. And though most of the world is strange to you because you've really only experienced the world through school and your family. So there's that, but there's still just sort of, it's like a stupid sort of aloofness that seems to be making its way deeper and deeper into people in their 20s and getting into that is lasting longer and longer. And phones and technology just have to be part of it. That seems like the kind of common denominator. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, I think it would do them a lot of good. At the very least, it's less time for them to send pictures of your daughter like fucking blowing some guy on the wrestling team, because that shit is rampant. But yeah, there's no reason for these little sociopaths to be spending their entire fucking day on the phone. Be in school, learn to play fucking pranks and shit on each other, have fun, try to finger a chick in the stairwell. Good, clean fun. Good, clean fun. Speaking of good, clean fun, people are very upset with the New York Mets, and like I said, apropos that I'm wearing a Mets Hawaiian with a hot dog slathered in mustard, because the Mets had Hawk Tuah girl throw out the first pitch. Haley Welch. She has become very, very popular. She was in that video where she has talked about Hawk Tuahing on a penis before jumping on it and going for a ride. And she's been making the podcast rounds and doing all of this other stuff. She's become sort of a sideshow. And Sal Licata from WFAN, amongst others, that is not happy. They are not happy. Um, they're saying he said that let's see, what did Sal say? The Yankees have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto breaking records. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig. The Mets have Grimace and now Hawk Tuah. Come on, bro. I can't take it. I cannot take it anymore. WFA and Sal Licata, a noted Mets fan, ranted during his and on BT and Sal. It's ridiculous. And then you wonder why fans get so ticked off and upset. It's embarrassing. I don't know. You know, as a Mets fan, I'm embarrassed more that the team tends to suck. I would like to see a very good baseball team consistently, but with these kinds of shenanigans. Like, that has always been the fun of the New York Mets have always been the fun New York team. The Yankees are the very dour and serious, no sideburns, and like it's run like a fucking it's run like a museum. And of course they've had, obviously legends. They're a franchise of legend, unfortunately. I can't fucking stand them. But the New York Mets are something different. I mean, even down to their colors, like the orange and blue. It's fun. It pops. You hit a home run and an apple rises out of a top hat in center field. That's what goes on with the Mets. They're broadcast teams. Gary, Keith, and Ron. And Keith Hernandez is making jokes about women's tits in the stands and eating hot dogs and whatnot. And there's just an air of sort of frivolousness about the New York Mets that has always made them, even in the midst of their shittiest seasons, has made them a lot of fun to be a fan of. So I think stuff like having Hawk Tuah girl throughout the first pitch, that needs to, like, Mr. Met flipping everybody off. The dildo in the locker. If you're not familiar with this, someone placed a dildo in a locker right where they knew cameras were going to be set up. So a dildo wound up on all of the evening news sportscasts without anyone paying on the production and seemingly paying any attention to it. There's been the penis in the background. There was a player walking out of the shower. There were some cameras, and he just walked by naked, and his dick was just cutting into the frame. This is the New York Mets. And it's one of the things I lean into it as a Mets fan. I love that the Mets are like this. I would prefer that they could be like this and win games, but if they can't win games, at least make the shit fun. Like, Jerry Seinfeld, Mets fan. Like, the Mets being the team of the TV show Seinfeld. Any other show, they would have made the guy a Yankees fan. But with it being the Mets, I think is King of Queens. I think he's a Mets fan too. He's a King of Queens. But that's the Mets. Like, that's who the Mets are. And I think the Mets are a more fun team when they lean into that identity. Even the last time they won the World Series, they were a team that was known for all sorts of wild shenanigans, like, lighting hot foots under the dugout. And one time they got so drunk on a fucking return flight, I think it was after they beat Houston in the NLCS, that they were walking around. They put a bunch of Salisbury steaks on the floor in the aisleway of the charter flight, and they were walking around just stomping on Salisbury steaks. And they were apparently at that point lost their charter with whichever fucking airline it was. So that is the New York Mets, the lovable losers. I would like them to be the lovable winners, where we can enjoy blowjob jokes and good baseball. But again, if we can't enjoy good baseball, Sal Licata, we should enjoy blowjob jokes. So, Hawk Tuah girl, she's good with me. She seems like a very nice person. I'm glad that her 15 minutes has kind of extended to 17 and a half or so. In a world where Everyone is kind of a fucking cunt these days. I'm glad that there are Hawk Tuah girls out there. We need to get back to fun. Remember fun? Remember when everyone was happy and no one gave a shit about politics and we were just having a good because we had just experienced 9/11 and we were like, "Hey, wild shit. Like it could literally your life could go down in a burning inferno at any moment. So have a little fun. Have some fun. Fun. Let's get back to fun." Keith Hernandez always talks about good fundies during the Mets baseball broadcasts. I want to just talk about good fun. Let's do it. Speaking of somebody who might be having a little bit too much fun, Dear Abbey, and this will be my last little segment for the week. I gotta wrap it up. I have an early shift to cover at the gym as well. Dear Abbey, my husband and Ernie shared a bed on their trip. What am I supposed to think? Such behavior supports my brother-in-law's suspicion. Dear Abbey, during my entire 40-year marriage, I have wondered if my husband is bisexual. We have stayed together, although there have been a lot of arguments. He met his friend Ernie around the same time he met me. In addition, he has always had female friends. When he came home late, I'd accuse him of having affairs with his female coworkers. But years ago, after golfing with my husband and Ernie, my brother-in-law told me my problem wasn't another woman. It was a man, baby. When I asked why he thought that, he said my husband and Ernie were in their own little world. He said he wasn't jealous of their friendship, but it was just his opinion. To cut to the chase, not long ago, my husband Ernie and two of their friends went on a golf trip. There was a master bedroom with a king-size bed, a second bedroom, and two queen-size beds, and a sofa sleeper. I asked you're in a bad spot already. First of all, when the guy is so blatant about it that he's engaging in a little fucking casual tomfoolery on the golf course in front of your brother-in-law. That's a big red flag. And then if you get to a point where you have to ask about sleeping arrangements on an all-guys trip, that's when you know. That's when you know. That's it. You know. You might want to, but if you have to ask, you know. There was a master bedroom with a king size. I asked my husband about the sleeping arrangements. He said one friend slept on the sofa, one in the room with the two queen beds, and he and Ernie shared the king-size bed. When I asked what the other guys thought about the two of them sleeping in the same bed, he yelled, "I don't care what they thought, and it appears you don't." And she said, "And it appears you don't care what your wife thinks either." Yeah. I mean, your husband yelling. If you didn't know when you had to ask, your husband yelling, "I don't care what they thought." That ought to be it, right? That is it. No one. There is not a hetero guy on the planet who wants to share a sleeping space with one of his buddies. That's just not. You want room to spread. A man, anyone really you want room to spread out, especially vacation sleeping quarters. Usually bad enough. You want your own space. You're on a trip with the guys, like you're having fun with your friends, but you just kind of want that that 8 hours overnight to kind of like lie by yourself, recharge, get some sleep, because you're going to be, it's awesome going. Boys' trip is awesome. Spend 72 hours with the bros, some steak dinners. You go to a gun range, some strip clubs, like a bachelor party or something. Like, you know how it goes. Like a good fucking time. There's gonna be probably a lot of ethnic slurs being thrown around. A lot of misogynistic talk. It's gonna be fun. Waitresses' asses are going to be discussed. Fucking blast. At the end of the night, though, the last thing you would want is to curl up. It's the worst. If you've ever been in one of those situations, because when you're in your 20s and you go on like a dude's trip, you don't have any money. Everyone's kind of got to cram into the room. Like there's one person sleeping on the cuck chair. If it's if it's a hotel room with two beds, you're going fucking two to a bed divided by like fucking pillows or duffel bags or whatever. So you have your own little fucking, slice of bed. You need that space just to kind of decompress from the day and be ready for more fun. It's not even like a homophobic thing. It's just like, I don't want to be with my fucking laying there while my stupid friend rolls around next to me and fucking kicks me and fucking farts and snores. Like I want my own personal space. It's like sharing a 3-seat sofa with people to sit down on at a party. It's, unless they are very attractive women, it's not a comfortable seating arrangement if there are 3 of you sitting on that couch. A 3-seat sofa is really for 2 people. I will fight you on that. That middle seat is a no man's land. That's where like your arm kind of relaxed. You fucking, you're holding your beverage. That's for a pocketbook or a purse or something like that, to a clear line of demarcation. The only way that seat should be used is if you're a fucking Chad. You sit in that seat and you get 2 broads, one on either side of you. That's different. She wraps this up. My husband has always said there isn't another woman. I love you. He has always denied being bi. He makes me feel like I'm crazy. Tell me what you think. Here's what Abbey had to say. For 2 men to share a bed when there is another option is, in my opinion, questionable. That's a very polite. That's Abby saying again, if you have to ask, never having met your husband, I hesitate to state whether he is or isn't cheating on you with Ernie. Being bisexual does not make a person an adulterer. No, technically it doesn't. If her husband just had a fetish where he liked to jerk it to like gay porn, but he didn't act on those things, then technically he wouldn't have violated their marriage. He's just a guy with a kind of a weird kink. But the problem is, if you really like steak and you go to you get forced to go to a vegan restaurant every night, eventually you're going to go out on your own and get a steak. If he wants Ernie and he doesn't have Ernie at home, eventually he's going out and getting Ernie. And we don't know who Ernie's been with. Ernie could be crawling with some really, really monkeypox, AIDS. We don't know what him and Ernie are your husband and Ernie being safe? Because if there's one Ernie, they probably have a couple other buddies too. And the thing about the male sex drive is that it's unquenchable. So once that thread starts to get pulled, then the wife is being opened up to, all sorts of risk. Because the penetration of a certain body part can lead to micro tears in both participants. And through those micro tears, it becomes a lot easier to transmit a variety of diseases. So, if you are a married woman, you may not want your husband to have an Ernie. Not that there is anything wrong with Ernies out there enjoying themselves. It's just that it could create some legitimate problems down the road. Now, if it's her kink, if she's into that, and they want to do some freewheeling swinging, and she's just hoping that her husband will fess up, that's something else. Or as Abby says, if he were to confirm your suspicion that he is bisexual, would it change your long-time marriage? That, my friend, is the $64,000 question. Well put, dear Abby. Yeah, I don't know. We're living in a different time. We are living in a different time. I'm going to wrap things up. I got to get down to the gym, teach a class. I got to work out. I got to grocery. It's a busy day for your boy. So enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the pre-record. Please, again, share with people. Twitter at Mike Montone. Instagram at Gary_Moyler, Moyler. And YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams, or just search for Sacktap Live. And hopefully live next week. I think I'm only teaching a daytime class next week. But who knows? It's summertime. A lot of my colleagues at the gym taking their vacations. I'm taking a nice long week-long break to end the summer. So I'm taking a bunch of days off from training at the gym. So this is actually, I'm recouping all the cash that I will be giving up. So covering these extra shifts has been good for your boy. Mikey likey the money. All right, guys.